I'm ready.
Welcome to the Awakening Podcast, where we have truth tellers and not whistleblowers, where we have facts and not conspiracy theorists, the podcast with solutions. And today, my guest is all the way from Germany, Hartmut Schumacher. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yes, you did. You did. All right. Thank you so much being on your show. And you told me that you wanted to know something more about the history of the pharmaceutical and the chemical industry, which was established in Germany.
Exactly.
And I will tell you something about this, what I learned by the presentation of Dr. Matthias Rath, Movement of Life, which was presented on the 8th of June 2011. And this they found out by the War Crime Tribunal of Nuremberg, which was held between November 1945 and April 1949. What they found out by researching the documents. Dr. Matthias Rath was one who made the research together with the survivor of Auschwitz, like August Kowalczyk and Jerzy Ulatowski. And you can find all these information, which I will present to you on the homepage profitoverlife.org, where they put everything together and where they have researched, where they have examined all the documents of the Nuremberg War Crime Tribunal. And so it's really exciting, and because this is real stuff, like it was said by George Orwell in 1984. If you want to control the future, you have to control the past, and if you control the present, you control the past.
No, just on that, because first I'll put the link so people can see it. But the other thing is, I do not trust the pharmaceutical industry from my own personal experience and from what I've seen over the years. And I think the story that you were about to tell will let people know how they operate.
Yeah. And the situation is that the people, for example, we are human beings, and since the development of the printing press in the 16th century, we have made a huge development. And this development concerning education, concerning politics, concerning science, it was possible by reading and by writing. And so we could discuss, we could contemplate many things. And this was the initiation of arising the human being to what a human being can be. And also the elimination of diseases by science, by a person like Louis Pasteur, for example. And this knowledge has also was also the driving force for the democracy, and was the reason for the 30 years of war against the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church against the Catholic Church, because people could start to read the Bible by themselves. So we had here a huge exponential knowledge also in healthcare, in many things. So in education, science, commerce, trade, culture, and politics. But in the year 1863 and 1865, three very important companies were established. And this was Bayer, Höchst, and BASF, which were the first chemical companies in the world. And they become so famous because they were able to copy the nature. For example, Bayer took the willow tree and it copied something from the willow tree, which became aspirin. Or for example, Bayer could also could copy procaine from the coca plant, which is very good for decreasing pain. And so they have started to register all the chemical formulas, what they could find. And these were thousands of formula. And they understood immediately that they will control the world by this chemical formula. And it is like this. You can I think I don't know how much, but I think every minute we touch something which comes from the chemical industry. Yeah, it's nearly unbelievable. And first of all, they found out how to copy nature, and then they wanted to know how to appropriate it, how to possess the nature in order to commercialize it. And many people underestimate is the patent law. Yeah, we know a lot of laws. And also the patent law is quite known. But this patent law was established in 1877 in Germany, and it put under penalty if you copy the patent without permission. And this is something which was a complete new way of possessing things. And by this patent law, the chemical industry understood that they can conquer the world. And this was the reason why, for example, people like Karl Duisberg, who was the CEO of Bayer and the chairman of the infamous IG Farben cartel, which was the world's largest chemical company in the world. Oh, which was the world, yeah. He was the man who has negotiated with the imperial with the emperor of Germany in order to start the First and Second World War. So the First and Second World War was the attempt of the chemical industry in order to establish the patent law worldwide. Yeah, this is this was the first trial, and they could convince the emperor to do the First World War by their possibility to create bombs from air. This was completely new. Before the establishment of the chemical industry, there was not such a mass destruction possibility in a war. And as air consists of 70% of nitrogen, they could find out to separate the nitrogen from air and establish ammonium. Yeah, ammonium. And this could become bombs. And this was the first time. And also mustard gas was also the first weapon of mass destruction. Chemical warfare agents were introduced in the First World War. And the patent for mustard gas was, the owner was Bayer. So the situation is that in the First World War, 16 million soldiers and civilians died, 20 million were wounded, and this was the collateral damage for establishing the patent law worldwide. This is what, and the people didn't know it. Yeah, we all thought it was a terror attack in Serbia. What was the reason? And this is not true. Yeah. And this was founded, and all these documents were found by the Nuremberg War Crime Tribunal. But these documents were hidden in a cellar. They were never put online. And by finding them, the people make them public. And well, after the chemical industry has lost the First World War, they decided to unify their companies to make a joint venture. And so in 1926, Bayer, BASF, and Hoechst became the biggest chemical company in the world, with a company value of 11 billion Reichsmark and more than 80,000 employees worldwide. and they have established a headquarters near Frankfurt, and they put more than 80 million Reichsmark in the National Socialist Party. And we have, for example, a very interesting historical event in Germany. And on the 27th of January, Hitler became Reichskanzler, Chancellor of Germany. And on the 27th February 1933, the Reichstag building burned and was attacked by communist parties. There was one communist from the Netherlands, I forgot his name. He said that he claimed that he was the only one who has put 33 canister or boxes of petrol in fire within 30 minutes, which is nearly impossible. But this is the official version. And the Nuremberg War Crime Tribunal found out that on the same day, when on the 27th of February, the Reichstag burned, was burned or was put in fire, the IG Farben ordered a transfer of 400,000 Reichsmark to the trust account of the National Socialist Party. So it was an order, this Reichstag's burning. And the interesting thing is, this was the day when the Republic changed in a dictatorship. And the reason was to secure the people from socialists and socialist democrats and from communists, and they were put all in prison. And the IG Farben established also an office in Berlin, which was a consulting company, and which has established the 4-year plan in order to conquer the world by war. Yeah. And there was also a very strong lawyer, Walter Hallstein, for example. He was the Nazi state legal strategist. And in a speech of January 23, 1939, he told how he wants to put the economic laws, the social laws, the administrative laws, the patent laws, and the blood and honor laws in the occupied countries. So this was the target, to put all the laws in other countries, especially the patent law, and also one currency, like we have it today. And when they made this, when they started the war, they have also established the concentration camps in Auschwitz, for example, what we all know. But the most people don't know that directly beside Auschwitz concentration camp, that there was the biggest, the largest industrial complex during the wartime, which was the IG Auschwitz, which was a 100% subsidiary of the IG Farben. And this was a chemical complex of 24 square kilometers, 3 kilometers, and 8 kilometers long. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they produced the bombs for the General Plan East, which was the plan to conquer Russia. They produced all the munition for it and the bombs. And besides, the concentration camps were used as test centrals for preparations and for patents. You will find, for example, we are all told in our history that there were very mad doctors who were crazy and who tortured all these people. And this is not the reality. The reality was that the chemical industry, like Bayer, sent medical drugs with numbers, so that they can test it, the drugs on the prisoners of Auschwitz. And this was and the interesting thing is, if you take a nitrogen atom and put a second nitrogen atom together, then you have an azo compound, and this azo compound is the foundation for the so-called chemical therapy or chemotherapy. And if you take a third nitrogen atom to the azo compound, then you have the basis for the most sold AIDS drug in the world today. Yeah, this is the situation. What the people don't know, that all these foundations were set in the concentration camps. And the Nuremberg War Crime Tribunal found also out that without Bayer, BASF, and Höchst, there would have never been a world war like one or two, because they delivered nearly 100% of synthetic rubber, 100% of blood serum, 100% of oil, 95% of poisonous gas, 84% of explosive, and 55% of all pharmaceuticals. And these documents can all be seen on the homepage profitoverlife.org. Yeah. And so the Second World War was the second attempt of the chemical drug cartel at the military conquest of the world to create one single planet-wide market. And I emphasize the importance of the patent law, because well, we are in a situation right now where we shall get an mRNA vaccination. And the interesting thing is the interesting thing is about the vaccinations is that there are three kinds of vaccinations which were developed. The classical one, where you get the virus directly in your system, and the immune system starts to attack. The second one, which is in the phase of trial, which is not on the market so far, is where DNA particles or parts of a very dangerous virus like Ebola is connected to a normal virus like flu, and then it gets injected in the blood, in the system of the body of human beings, so that the immune system can attack the flu virus. And by attacking the flu virus, they learn how to attack the Ebola virus. So there's immunization without getting sick. And the third way of making a vaccination is to take DNA particles of a virus, put these DNA particles in lipid nanoparticles, which can cover, which will have which will secure them within this lipid nanoparticles. There's the DNA of the virus. So, and if this kind of lipid nanoparticles is injected to the human being, the immune system cannot see that this is a virus. It cannot analyze it as a virus, and the lipid nanoparticles will go directly in the cell, and within the cell, the DNA of the virus will released, and this can change maybe the cell, the RNA of the human being. Yeah.
I have seen where they had ferrets and they've done tests, and basically what happened is the disease actually attacked itself then, so the ferrets died from it. They were doing tests on ferrets because seemingly the organs are similar to a human. And yeah, and the other thing is, in President Reagan's time, he signed a bill that the pharmaceutical industry, they're not liable for any side effects from the injections, and that kind of
Correct.
seems
They are
to
not
spread
labeled.
across the world. Yeah, which is unbelievable.
Yes, it is like this. And this is my way of thinking. Let's say it will change the RNA of the human being. I got a very strange idea. I got the idea, okay, if, for example, as a scientist, I take a normal natural potato, and if I change the genetic of this potato, I have a patent on this potato, and I can get a license for it. So if the chemical industry has put so much effort in order to establish the patent law around the globe, what happens with me as a human being if my RNA is changed? Do I have the same rights like a potato, or is there a difference like a potato? I don't know. It's a very interesting question. Yeah.
I remember a few years ago, there was a person working for me, and they had a friend that had a farm. They were growing potatoes, and McDonald's came in and took the rights to it and planted their own potatoes. And the animals that normally would eat the potatoes no longer ate the potatoes. So that will actually tell you whatever they do to these things, they can actually, with the injection, whatever where they're created, that from the start, they're kind of detrimental to your health. So if the animals aren't eating it, why should we?
Yes, correct. And what I want to emphasize is, for example, the most people don't listen to these old stuff because this old stuff has nothing to do with today. But the situation, what we could learn from these things, which passed 70 years ago, these things give a clue how these executive managers of these companies thought long time ago. Yeah. And if we are facing the situation right now, yeah, it is nearly the same. And the problem is that in the war crime tribunal, it was not only one, there were 13 war crime tribunals, and this number 6 was against the 24 IG Farben managers. And while the politicians and the military personnel, which were responsible for the death of people, they were killed or were put in prison for a very long time. The 24 IG Farben managers, they were put in jail for a couple of years. And then after a couple of years, they became the captains of the biggest companies in Germany again. And this is something what is very important to know. For example, the CEO of Bayer, which was Fritz Temer, he was sentenced to prison for 9 years, and he was sentenced for crimes against humanity. He was the man who has created the sentence "work makes free" on the concentration camp of Auschwitz. Yeah, and this man was put in prison for 9 years, and after 9 years, he became the CEO, or not the CEO. He became a member of the council of Bayer and of the council of a bank in Germany. Yeah, and the political and military henchmen were put in long-term in prison or were killed. And what also interesting too is that the shares of IG Farben, which was the main booty of the World War II, went under the control of the Rockefeller Group in USA and Rothschild UK and France investment group. So they are the one who are the owner of Bayer, BASF, IG Farben, Bayer, BASF, Höchst, and Sanofi. Höchst is today Sanofi. And yeah, and I'm very happy that the survivors of the concentration camp made this research, because otherwise we wouldn't know this. Yeah, we would still trust our government. It's insane. It's so interesting. The DNA of the animals, they know when they shall be killed. For example, take a rat and put her poisoned food anywhere. She knows that it is poisoned normally. Yeah, and we have the same feeling, but by the medias we are so dumb that we forget it. Yeah, and this, that the fact that the captains of the big pharma industry during the Second World War were put in power again after the World War. This had a big influence on Europe, a very big one, because Walter Hallstein, for example, who I mentioned before as the lawyer who was responsible for putting the laws into the occupied countries, he was the one who signed with our Chancellor Konrad Adenauer the Treaty of Rome, and he became the first president of the European Union, which is nearly, yeah, which is really.
No, like I know that the European Union, a lot of people think, yeah, this is a great thing. It is not. Like, I'm not sure if even with Ireland, there was the Lisbon Treaty. We voted against that, and we had to vote again in Ireland because we voted wrong. We should have voted yes, but we voted no. So a year later, everybody was telling us. And when you investigate how it's done, all the laws and everything, like there's one MEP that I watched, they were showing how the laws are being passed, and he had a hidden camera. And basically, when they're going for the bills that they're going to be signing on, they have to be accompanied into a room that's closed in, and they're not allowed to have a video camera, they're not allowed to have a tape recorder. If they're making notes, they can only make little tiny notes, they can't write it down verbatim. And they're the laws that are being passed in Europe. So that in itself will prove total corruption if you have to do it that way.
Yes, and with the Lisbon Treaty, all the European countries gave away their constitutions.
Yes,
and the constitution for human beings.
And also, like, because we're coming from World War I, World War II, loads of people aren't aware of this PEPSCO. There's now a European army. Ireland was neutral, and they secretly voted this in, and they're giving billions to a European army. And what the armies want, they want war. Most people aren't aware that there's a European army being formed.
Yes, correct. Yes, and you can see it also. You can see it also in the construction of the building of the European Union. The headquarters has the symbol of the swastika, which was the Nazi symbol, and this is the structure of the Brussels headquarters, European headquarters. And the interesting thing is the office, which was in Berlin, was brought to Brussels after the World War. So the office of the chemical industry, which made the consultation for the government. And if we think about the European Commission, for example, the European Commission, if we think about von der Leyen, before I knew this, I thought maybe there are 12 or 30 or 50 people who sit on a table, have a cup of coffee, and make the decisions. And we have a European Parliament with 736 members, but the European Commission operates an army of more than 54,000 technocrats. So if you have one parliament member, there are 80 lobbyists who tell the parliament member what to tell and what to think and what to decide.
And your tax is paying for all of that.
Yes, and the European, European Stability Mechanism, which is it's the soul out of the people. They cannot be put in jail, they cannot be put in court, but they can ask for money every time. And so this was established by the Chemical, Drug and Oil Cartel. We can elect the European Parliament, but the European Parliament has nothing to say. And this is how it is in all states, I guess. You have the NGOs. The NGOs, if we think of an NGO, we think of a company maybe with 50 or 100 people. But I have no idea so far, but I think this is huge. The pressure is huge. Yeah. I read an article where it was said that Navalny works for the NGO of Soros. And you can see the huge impact on Russia, what Navalny wanted to have. Or, for example, take a look to Belarus. Yeah, Lukashenko said that the IMF offered him in June 92 million. 3 weeks later, the World Bank 920 million. In the case he would take measurements like the measurements was taken concerning the virus in Italy. And he refused. And now you see the situation in Belarus. And with this information, we can think how many countries must have taken the money. This is a good question. Yeah.
No, exactly.
So, and the problem of the European Union is, as the oil and drug cartel runs the European Union, Bayer, BASF, Höchst, and Sanofi, there are only 2 countries who run the European Union, and this is France and Germany, represented by Macron and by Merkel. Yeah. And all the other countries, Denmark, Poland, Ireland, etc., Czech Republic, they don't, Czech Republic, Slovakia, they don't have to say anything. The only country which is also very powerful but quite hidden is Austria, because they are the only country beside the US who have a United Nations building in the country. So this is also a symbol for power, but they work more hidden. Yeah. So the situation is this drug cartel wants to get control about health, energy, and food, especially GMO. And by the drugs and by the vaccinations, as you already said, they are not reliable for any problems which will come. Not at all. And the World Health Organization was also interesting. In the first time when Trump refused to pay any money to the World Health Organization, which country was the first who supported the World Health Organization and gave the money which was so essential? It was Germany.
Ireland did as well, unfortunately. Yeah.
So yeah, this is the problem, and they want to the one hand is to make money with diseases. So you need the diseases, and then you can bring the results, and you can take the money from the people, and you can also enslave the countries completely by this system. If, for example, Ireland is also this, it's Ireland, Spain, Portugal, and Greece. These are the countries which have made this bad experiment where the IMF and the World Bank wanted to support the countries. And in the moment when the IMF and the World Bank want to support the countries, they start to increase or to improve the country by improving the healthcare system. And by improving the healthcare system, they make contracts between the governments of the countries and the pharmaceutical drug cartel. And then all these countries have to pay monthly, or have to pay for drugs which will be delivered to the country, and these drugs will never be used because it's too much, and they cannot pay the bills, and this drains completely the national economy. And then consultants come to the country and say, well, you have to close the schools, you have to decrease your social costs, you have to decrease the hospital. No, hospitals not, because they need the pharmaceutical industry, pharmaceutical drugs, but they drain more and more the countries, and so the bankruptcy is only a question of time. And then the European Union can make a takeover of the continent, and in the media you can listen that the Greek people are too lazy and get too much money when they are retired, which is completely nonsense.
I'm well aware of the Irish situation, because I've kind of kept my finger on the pulse on that, and they got a bailout of something like 60 billion at a very high interest rate. The hospital situation, I've never seen something so bad in all my life. There was people, this was before this COVID pandemic, there was people in corridors. So like they were closing wards, but yet people were lying on trolleys in corridors. All the banks were bailed out. So they bailed out the banks, but yet the individuals, they made them pay. They didn't give them any bailout. So the money that was for the bailout, you would think would be for the individual, but it wasn't. It was all for the banks. They repossessed everyone's home. I've never seen such homelessness in my life. They then put them into like accommodation, and some of this accommodation that they're in hotels is costing the taxpayer 100,000, 200,000 per family. Yet they could have been on a mortgage of 10,000 a year, and there was no kind of forgiveness. There was no interest, only to allow them to get back on track. The whole lot was orchestrated, and everybody is suffering, and the taxes have gone through the roof. The whole government is controlled. You know that the decisions that they're making, they recently made another decision on the vulture funds. They've gave more power to the vulture funds. So no human being that cares about other people would do such a thing. And every single, like in Ireland, which proves kind of the political situation, because some people think, oh, we'll just vote for the other side. They're all controlled, because in Ireland, you have left and right. For the last 100 years, these two parties were against each other. They're now in party together with the Greens, and they all voted for a vulture fund bill. And every single thing that they're doing is not for the people. It's just for the system where we're slaves for life. Yes. The whole lot is orchestrated. And the sooner people wake up to this, the better, because knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. And this is what you said. The banks didn't, the money was never for the people. It was the money was given to the banks, which paid the pharmaceutical industry the bills.
Yeah,
this is the complete system. And so by make the situation worse in whole Europe, they could implement the international stability mechanism. And this is the direct control to the money of the people. Yeah. So this is it's insane, and they want to well, yes, this, and at the moment they show their, I will say, the bloodiest face with this situation, which the control of or which by the lockdown. The situation is a war. A war is the best way to change the society. But the problem is the people don't want to have war anymore. Mm. And you cannot make a change of the society by war. So you have to find another solution. And this is the situation what we have today. It's by degrees. It's by stopping the economy, high inflation, stopping the food supply. Yeah, I read that in UK they have a strategy plan for controlled food supply in November, and this is because of nearly nothing. Yeah.
Matter after crippling the economy, and like a lot of people think because of this COVID thing, the amount of businesses that have gone under, and like they're repossessing houses already. Some people think they're going to get a bailout and that they'll get a check from the government. It's all a lie. They're getting a small bit of money just to keep them quiet at the moment. But the reality is they're going to take all their properties off them. Their businesses are already gone. They're going to be slaves to the system, and they have to be compliant, or they won't get their, social welfare after that.
Yes, this is we are making in Germany right now the test for 3 years for the basic income. They wanted to give it to 120 people, and in the case that there were more than 1 million applicants, they wanted to make it by choice. And within 3 days, they had more than 1 million applicants for this test. And the situation, for example, also the money which is given by the government to the population, it was you are only allowed to ask for money which gives you the possibility to pay the fixed costs. So, for example, if you have rent an office, if you have in the office you have a telephone, or in the office you have a computer where you have to pay bills. These are the things where you can get the money for, but you cannot get the money for your personal income. In that moment, you have to go to the social security system. You have to ask for paying the rent and all that stuff. It's unbelievable, and you are completely and you're listed you get listed in as someone who has got the money. And then, if, for example, the regime changed very strongly, like it is doing right now, imagine you have asked for too much money. In that moment, because no one said what the penalty could be. Also very interesting. They said, if you ask for too much money, or if you betray us, you will get we will bring you to court. But they would say not what the penalty will be.
And the problem is the whole court system is corrupt, because every time your political party changes, the whole court system, the top judges change. So you don't have a fair case when you go to court.
In Germany, the Interpol, I don't know whether this is right. I have to be careful. I heard that, but I don't know where anymore. The Interpol does not accept a decision from a German court because the German court is too close to the government. And the problem is also the young people in Germany, because now the government tries to decrease the age for voting, for doing elections. They shall be 17 or 16 in order to bring the Green Party in power. But the Green Party, we get the impression that the Green Party is is a socialist party. And this is and the Black Green Party today, which would be the result if we would have elections right now. If we had elections right now, this would be the result. This is horrible, because this is like German Democratic Republic. It's and these people are also invited in any kinds of trafficking. It's really insane.
Well, the same people that are involved with the pharmaceutical industry created the hoax of the climate change. And unfortunately, because everybody's heard it so many times on the corrupt media, they started to believe it. And then they start to get on board. But if you look at what's happening, even in Ireland with the Green parties in, they're not the good boys. And, you just need to be very careful.
The situation is everything you can read on the website of the World Economic Forum, because they have a COVID action plan or a COVID action platform. And the symbol is accidentally the same like Black Lives Matter. And if you, it's from the structure, it's one of the most intelligent websites I have ever seen. But you can go on the website, go on the platform for COVID-19 action, go and look for biotechnology. What they have put out is human enhancement. We have here in Germany, we have on YouTube a report where they showed how there was a plan concerning human enhancement, enhanced minds, enhanced bodies, enhanced genes, humanity and autonomy, enhanced longevity. This was all on the platform of World Economic Forum, but I cannot find it anymore. And they have, well, you can interpret it like this: that they try to exchange the human bodies in something else, and well, with 5G, we will not have the possibility of the reproduction anymore. And this is something which is, the problem is, for example, people like you and me, and maybe also our audience, can listen to these things because we are so deep involved in this business for so many years. For us, it is logic to see these things and to connect these things with other situations in this world, because we are dealing with these things for many years. But the problem with awakening the people is that the most people have, until January 2020, they trusted the government because they have reached something in their life. They have their own home, they have maybe their own flat, they have their own car, they can travel two times a year to Mallorca, and they are satisfied with their life. And for this reason, they trust the government. And now people like you and me come to them and say, hey, you cannot trust the government anymore. And we are the one who try to destroy the trust in the government. And for this reason, they think we are the bad guys.
Exactly. We're attacked. I mean, when you're posting stuff, there's people are just constantly questioning, trying to, they're using fact checkers, which are owned by the bad boys as well, and they're putting up links as if what you have posted is incorrect. But the reality is, we're doing this to help people. We're doing this, like a lot of the stuff that I've done is personal experience, that I've seen the corruption that has gone on in all industries. So I knew from that, and the deeper that I was delving, the worse it was getting. And like the reality is, what I would like is the people that are involved in this, like the people working for the pharmaceutical companies, the doctors that are involved in this, the police that are actually blocking people, to step back, look yourself in the mirror and go, we're actually creating this that's going to affect us. Because if you think because you're a police officer, you're going to be safe because you're part of the boys club, you're not. You're nobody. No. You're 20 years time or even 1 year later, you're out. You're part of the system, and every one of your children, your relations, your family are going to be part of this new society that you will have helped. And it's like, if you've got friends or family members that are police or that are in the medical industry, you need to ask them the questions. Are you actually complying to this? Are you helping this situation? Because if you are, you need to stop, because we can't attack an industry. We can't attack the pharmaceutical industry. We can't attack the banking industry because they've got a press that prints the money. We have to go for the individual and not attack them, but just get them to change, get them to open their eyes and go, okay, I've been I've been compliant with this system and I need to change what's going on.
There are German and American lawyers who tried to make a lawsuit against the developer of the PCR test and all the producers of the PCR test and all the administration by a lawsuit, a collecting lawsuit, where everyone can pay 860 euros, and then they represent your damage, what was done by the lockdown, and you guarantee them 10% of the outcome as their money. And this lawsuit shall be done in the United States, because the United States is the only country where you can do these things, like to make a lawsuit against Volkswagen. And they want to do this. And this is the only real hope what we have. Yeah, this is it. Because in that moment, all the producers of the PCR test and also the developer of the PCR test, they have to put in jail and have to pay the penalties. And interesting to note is also that the developer of the PCR test, Dr. Drosten, his PhD you cannot find in the library. It's not there. Yeah, it is someone rented for years, and you cannot get it. Normally, you need this in the library so that you can see what kind of PhD did he wrote. It's not possible to see. And there is a lawsuit against the PCR test because the PCR test is, there are people who say this doesn't work because they say, for example, if 5G is implemented, in that moment, the 5G system has an effect on the cell itself. And if a cell is damaged or if a cell is stressed, it produces exosomes. And by the production of exosomes, the exosomes cannot be, a doctor or a scientist cannot make a difference whether the exosome is a virus or not. So the PCR test only examines that there is an exosome. And if they find the exosome, then you are positive tested, but it says nothing about the virus.
Yeah.
This is very, very strange. And now they increased the test. In Germany, they have increased the tests, 100,000 tests in 1 week more. I think 900,000 tests in a week they did. But the total figure of the positive tested people decreased in comparison to the quantity. Yeah. But no one is interested in these things. Mm-hmm. This is a strange situation, and also here the psychological traumatization of the children is enormously. We had here in Germany a doctor yesterday. I saw a video of a doctor who told a child to put up the mask in his office, and the children said nothing but started to cry. And then he said that that he has children in his office who told him that they would have beetles on their skin, and if they would touch with her skin the grandmother, the beetles could go to her grandmother and could kill the grandmother. So the implementation in the minds of the children, this is a shame.
Yeah.
And it looks like that this is done by the teachers. I saw books for the first class where children can see what is right and what is wrong. Wearing a mask, washing hands, holding distance is right, but playing with other children, whispering in the ear of another children, or singing together is wrong. This is taught to the children in the first class. This traumatization, you cannot. how many lessons of psychotherapy shall they get until they are 70? Yeah,
and I mean, the parents are being compliant. The parents are allowing this to go on, and you know, like I think it's in Texas, they're actually going to inject all the children there. They're going to take them from the parents. There's so many laws going on around the world. Like, people need to start researching and realizing that we're all pawns in a game that they're playing.
And I had a conversation with a teacher here in my area. And the interesting thing is she only knew one person who refused to vaccinate her children. All the others, they don't care. And this is a really difficult situation. Yeah, the people don't care about the vaccination. I hope that we have 5 to 10 million people in Berlin tomorrow. And our colleague Zahi in Australia, he said, because he was from Iraq, for example, in Iraq, it takes 50% of the population in order to make a regime change. And they know this. And for example, in Iraq, you have 25% fascists who have made a genocide against the Christians. So that, for example, until 2015, 2 or 3 million, or before war, 2 or 3 million Christians lived in Iraq, and now there are 200 to 300,000. Yeah, so 90% died or left the country, and this is what the government is fearing, that the people can get a critical point in order to make a regime change. And yeah, we have to be very careful that it is not too late.
Well, I think the most important thing is the loop, because the story that you've been telling all through was how corrupt the pharmaceutical industry is. And you must remember, they haven't changed. And now they're the guys that are creating the injections that you're going to give to your children and maybe to yourself. And just be conscious of that.
Yes. This is, and I think, for example, concerning Russia, I have my personal opinion. They have already made a vaccination, and all the countries which were not so satisfied with the World Health Organization, or which were who confronted the World Health Organization with the reality, like Brazil, they buy all this vaccination from Russia. And the World Health Organization doesn't accept it. And all the Western media, they say that this is a very dangerous vaccination. It's interesting to know. Yeah. And in my opinion, if the World Health Organization and the Western people say that this is a dangerous vaccination, then I'll listen twice, because I guess it has not the effect which it shall have.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is, and 1 billion people already they already sold 1 billion injections. Yeah. Until, yes, and this is, and there is also a homepage, Deagle, which shows, I don't know who is running Deagle, I don't know, but there are several percentages how the population shall be decreased. For example, in Germany, 65%, in US, 84%.
I've seen that. Ireland as well, they were showing 1.3 million, the UK from 60 to 15 million, and they're saying by 2025, like, it's strange when you see these things.
Yeah, it's strange, but it is interesting to note is that in Russia you said there was 0. Yeah, and in order to understand this, the as you see in the history, how the Nazis took over Europe. They not only took over Europe, it's possible that they also took over the United Nations and the World Health Organization. It's possible. So if you see the plan, which shows the World Economic Forum shows exactly that this is not a pandemic. Everyone who has some intelligence and can read will see that this is not a pandemic, it's a plandemic. And this, the people have to, but the problem is that most people will not listen to it, because it's going beyond the possibility to go through fear. I like to compare it with a clownfish and a whale, a friendship between a clownfish and a whale. The clownfish knows exactly everything about the reef, but he will never understand the beauty and the deepness of the ocean. And a whale knows this, and whale can dive 500 meters deep. So he can explain the clownfish how it is, but the clownfish will never understand this. And this is the difference also between people like you and me. We, by reading this information, by understanding this information, we went already through this fear. We have the possibility to dive 500 meters deep. But the most people, they go to school, they make a job like a bank clerk, for example, and then they make the career in the bank. They buy a house on a credit, they buy a car on a credit, and then with the years, they get the impression that they own something, and that they have increased everything, and they have established a family, and they are in the mainstream system, completely prisoned. And to meet people like us, we are already disturbing by existing, because they feel that we think different. And this is, well, we have to accept this.
Well,
sometimes I think
more waking up.
More waking up, and sometimes I got the impression that they are behind us, not behind the other people, because the situation, let me say it this way, the people or the entities who have the possibility to control the world, they have the possibility to predict everything by the control. And as long as the people are living in the mainstream, they use their creativity within the system. And as long as the creativity is used in the system, everything is predictable and everything is controllable. Only the people who take the creativity in order to think out of the box, these are dangerous. Because these are the people who cannot be predicted.
Exactly. And that's why they're shutting it down, because if you post anything, it's taken down off Facebook. There's good friends of mine have put brilliant things up on YouTube. They were being blocked, and it's all been truth, but they were blocked. A lot of the stuff, even the book that I wrote, a lot of the stuff that I had is all been taken down. Some of my guests, doctors, pharmacists, they were saying that all of the good information has been taken down. So when you do a search, you don't find it anymore. You're only finding all the stuff that they want you to find. So
yes, and we have to be aware that the World Health Organization is examining all the conversation to what we are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what shall we do? Yeah. Whether we live 1, 2, or 3 years, I don't care anymore. Sorry.
No,
because
I think I definitely believe there's a shift, and there's so many now after the 6 months of this lockdown that are on the fence. that kind of realize, hey, there's something wrong here. And now they're starting to suffer as well. Because, I mean, if you were working in the bar industry, like they've closed the pubs in Ireland. They have a stupid law that you can open the pub, but you have to serve food. So you can't go in for a drink. You have to get food. I mean, yeah, like the disease is so good that it actually says, oh, he's only drinking, I'll attack him, but he's having his dinner, so it's all good. Like, if you look at the different laws that they've put in place for all around the world, it should make you wake up and realize this is not normal. You know, by putting the children in a little enclosed box, making them wear their masks. If you actually look at InfoWars done a test, they had a device for the carbon dioxide, and it's toxic to you when you're wearing these masks.
Yes.
And start researching these things instead of listening to the media. And the more people that start turning off your television, stop looking at all these kind of gossip magazines, then you can make a shift in the right direction, because the more people on our side, the better.
Sometimes I ask myself, how is it possible to make these kind of stupid laws? For example, since I think on the 1st September in Spain, there will be laws that you have to wear the masks in the restaurant, and that you are only allowed to put it off when you eat. So the restaurant owner, if someone comes in, the first thing what they do, they put bread on the table so that they can eat the whole time. Yeah, which is completely insane. And the mask thing is psychological trauma for the children, because if they cannot see the face, the person in front of you gets exchangeable, so you cannot establish an emotional connection to the people in front of you. And this is a trial to dehumanize us. Definitely. Without any emotions. This is the only thing, because it doesn't work. The thing in Germany, it's so insane. In Germany, the law says you have to wear the mask, although only if you are not allowed, if you have a test from a medical point of view, you are not allowed to wear it, or if there are any other reasons that you are not allowed, that you cannot wear it, then you don't need to wear it, because they made this sentence so that no one can ask for payments because of the damage what the mask did. So the government can say, well, we wrote to you, if you have any reasons not to wear it, you didn't need to wear it. But on the other hand, they discussed yesterday the penalty of 150 or 150 euros if you don't wear it.
I was talking to one of our mutual friends, Chris, because he's going to some demonstration tomorrow, and they were saying that if there's crowds of over 30, that they were going to have fines of 10,000. So like they're coming up with all these different fines. And the same in Poland, they had big, huge fines if you didn't have your mask. But I've used that loophole where you can kind of say it's a medical reason, you don't have to disclose. So I never wear a mask. And actually, most people don't say, like, it's very rare that the odd time they'll refuse me in a cafeteria. They say, no, you must wear your mask. And I just refuse. And I'll just leave. I won't comply. But, it's strange like that. You can use that. You can use the documentation saying it's medical and you don't have to disclose it because it's confidentiality between the doctor. Yes. So the best thing is just know your laws, and everyone, and even if it is something that you get from a doctor, we need more doctors that are against this to just be signing the paperwork for all people, handing them out so that they can actually have, so that they can, if a police officer comes up to them, that they have a piece of paper that says, I don't have to wear this mask. And the more people that stop wearing, it's a knock-on effect. Other people will look at it, because as soon as the law changed, because I noticed even in Poland, they brought it in, it was very harsh. They closed all the parks, they closed everything, and then it eased off. People, there was very few walking around with the mask on. I'd say 5%, but then it's kicked in again now, and they're all wearing the masks. There, you have to wear it on the bus, in the supermarket. It's just, I'm the only one, that maybe one other person the odd time that's not wearing a mask. So,
yes.
you know, I just say don't comply. And you might just tell the people as well, because at the start, before we started recording, you were just telling me about Germany, what they were trying to do to stop the protests that are going to. Is it tomorrow that it's happening in Berlin?
It's tomorrow happening, and now we have the legal, we have the possibility to go to the demonstration, and I got the information. I don't. But I cannot prove whether it's right or wrong. That they had the intention to stop the buses or the buses and the people driving to the demonstration on the autobahn, and to stop also the trains. This was the information I was given, but I cannot.
Well, I have seen in Ireland, because last week there was a very good demonstration, peaceful demonstration.
I saw it, yeah.
And they had a few places where they had barriers, and the people just went along and threw the barriers out of the way and just walked past. And there's, you know, yeah, when they've got pepper spray and everything, I know there's the fear factor, but like we outnumber the police, and hopefully they'll start waking up and kind of get on the right side instead of being compliant.
There is a video on Telegram, or an audio file on Telegram from QN in Germany, and they say that people from 14 countries will come to Berlin. That there is an airline which brings people from all over the world, also from Thailand to Germany, in order to make the demonstrations, and that they have rent flats in order to store food and water supply, and that the buses have the order not to drive back until the regime has changed. So they want to stay there for days, and they want to get 5 million people, and they will organize it like this, that they go in a circle, and when the end of the demonstration, at the beginning of the demonstration, come together, they sit down, and nothing will go anymore in Berlin, and then they want to work. Then they want to sit there until something has happened.
Okay. So
and this is what they try to do, and yeah. And John F. Kennedy Jr. is today in Berlin. He is discussing things with his foundation, and the organizers of the demonstration have invited him, and but we don't know whether he will come or not. This is what they will say, maybe in the last minute.
Okay. Well, we'll keep in contact, and we'll find out what's going on, and I can post people and everything. So listen, it's been fantastic. You've given some good knowledge on the pharmaceutical industry, which is what I wanted, because that I want people to wake up to. So how can people get in contact with you?
I have my broadcast anchor.fm /Hartmut/Schumacher/path. And then from this anchor, they can get on my landing page, and then they can get in contact with me.
Okay, I'll put the link anyway on the podcast description, so people can start following you. And we'll also get the video of it was 2011, I think it was in Warsaw, that what you were discussing. Yeah, so we'll put that as well, so people can actually see it.
And put also the internet homepage, profitoverlife.org, because they made an incredible job. And interesting to notice that in this time, I don't know who is talking about this, but this is so foundational knowledge. It's very important to know this, that the people understand that this is only, I'm very careful, that there were already a situation where the government was paid by the pharmaceutical industry for a regime change from a republic in a dictatorship. And this, and the funny thing is, today everyone gets the money official. It's transparent and no one cares.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is.
So listen, thank you very much for all you've shared. We'll be in contact. I'll keep people up to date with what's going on, and I appreciate
you.
It
was my pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
So that's all for the Awakening Podcast. You'll find all our episodes on awakeningpodcast.org. We've also got the speaking podcast and the meditation podcast that can be found on roycollin.com. We're on BitChute and YouTube. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and give us a 5-star rating. Until next week, take care.